Thank you, Your Honor. This time the state calls Jessica Cook.
Raise your right hand, place your left hand on the Bible. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give the court in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Jessica Cook, C-O-O-K-E.
Ms. Cook, if you don't mind, tell this jury how old you are
I am 37.
and where are you from?
Originally Ohio, now
Okay.
Myrtle Beach,
Okay. And where do you currently live?
in Surfside.
Okay. How long have you lived there?
3 months.
Okay. And are you married?
I am.
Okay. Any kids?
4.
Okay. Now, at any point, did you work at Tilted Kilt?
I did.
Okay. And if you don't mind, tell this jury where that is located.
Broadway at the beach.
Okay. And what were your responsibilities at the Tilted Kilt?
I was front of the house manager. I did scheduling. I did do some ordering and did table checks and everything for the front of the house.
Okay. And about how long had you worked at the Tilted Kilt as a manager?
About 3 years.
Okay. And if you don't mind, tell this jury while you were there, did you have an occasion to come across Heather Elvis?
Yes.
Okay. And if you don't mind, tell them how.
She was a hostess, so I was her direct supervisor.
Okay. And if you don't mind, was she a full-time employee there?
The way they did it, everybody there was labeled as part-time, but she worked full-time hours.
Okay. And so she was there basically almost every day?
Yes.
Okay. And about how long had she worked there?
It was around a year, year and a half.
Okay. And was she the kind of employee that showed up for work every day?
Absolutely.
Okay. And let me ask you this, if she didn't show up, was she going to let you know?
Absolutely.
Okay. Was there ever a time she just didn't show up for work?
No.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. What were her job responsibilities at Tilted Kilt?
She greeted the customers that came in the door, talked to them, and took them to the tables.
Okay. And at the time when she was working there, was she old enough to serve alcohol?
No.
Okay. So she was under 21.
Correct. She could serve alcohol, she couldn't pour alcohol.
Okay. And if you don't mind, you may have already told me, how long had she worked there?
It was anywhere between a year and a half. I don't remember the exact dates.
Okay. Now, the defendant in this case, Sidney Moorer, do you know him?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And if you don't mind, tell this jury how you know him.
He was hired as a maintenance man for Tilted Kilt.
Okay. And about how long had he worked there?
6 months.
Okay. And if you don't mind, tell me the kind of hours he worked.
He would come in later at night so that he could do his maintenance while we were closed. So he'd come in anywhere between like 11:30, 12:30, depending on business, and he would leave before the opening manager came in.
Okay. And to your knowledge, did Sidney and Heather know each other?
Yes.
Okay. And if you don't mind, tell this jury a little bit about that relationship.
At first, when Sidney started working there, he met everybody, he was friendly with everybody, and Heather seemed to have a fondness for him, and they started hanging out at the host stand and talking, having conversations.
Okay. And did that relationship progress?
It did.
Okay. And if you don't mind, tell this jury, would he come in and see her on days he wasn't even working?
Yes, he would come in during the day, and he would bring her coffee and bagels,
Okay.
or tea and bagels.
And did that happen on a regular basis?
It did.
Okay. Were there any other men bringing her coffee up there?
No.
Were there any other men coming to see her up there?
No.
Okay. Now, let me ask you something. Tell me a little bit about when they were working there, what Heather was like as far as with her phone.
With her phone?
Yes.
They weren't allowed to have their phones, but she always had it. She would get in trouble for having her phone at the host stand.
And if it was ever about to die, would she run to charge it up?
Absolutely.
Okay. And did you ever see the kind of stuff that was on her phone?
Yes, I did.
And if you don't mind, tell this jury what you saw was on her phone.
She needed to charge it, and I had her charge it in the office because they're not allowed to have them. The office is always locked. I was up there doing computer work, and her phone continually went off. So I looked at it to see who it was, and it was Sidney Moorer texting her saying what she was doing.
Okay, so it was text messages back and forth. Okay. Were there multiple messages?
Yes.
Okay. And it was about meeting up or seeing each other?
Yes. One in particular that set a red flag in my head was that they were talking about how they had had sex on the back patio of Tilted Kilt.
Now, while they were both at Tilted Kilt, he's bringing her coffee, you've seen these text messages between the two of them. What was your understanding of the relationship?
Heather, okay. I figured they were seeing each other. I didn't have confirmation until I actually read the text messages in the phone.
Okay. So kind of like boyfriend, girlfriend?
Yes.
Okay. Now, at any point, did that relationship change?
It did.
Okay, and if you don't mind, tell the jury about that.
October, two of the girls at Tilted Kilt decided to make a prank phone call and saying that Sidney's wife had found out. And Heather freaked out. She wanted to leave, and sorry, I'm very nervous. Somehow, we found out that the girls made the phone call, and it wasn't actually, sorry, can't look that way. It wasn't actually Tammy. The employees found out that it was two of the girls. After that point, Heather left, and there was no relationship after that.
Okay. And during the time of this kind of breakup, what was going on?
Heather was very sad. She wasn't her normal self. She was kind of upset that the relationship was no longer because she actually had feelings. It seemed to me that she really had true feelings for him.
Okay. And at any point did, when they had broken up, did she appear fearful for any reason?
The day that they played the prank, yes. She wanted to get out of there as fast as possible. She was extremely nervous, jittery. She just wasn't herself.
Had you ever seen her like that before?
No.
Okay. Had she ever come to work with any bruises on her?
Yes.
And when did that happen?
End of October, early November?
Okay. And was that the same time that they had broken up?
Yes, around the same time.
And had she ever come to work with any bruises before?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay. Now, during this time when she's working at Tilted Kilt and she's with the defendant, do you ever notice any changes in her physical appearance?
Yes.
Okay, and if you don't mind, tell the jury about that.
Okay. I was in charge of the uniforms at Tilted Kilt, so their bra, their shrug, and their kilt were all provided by us. She had to change her bra out from a A cup to a B cup, and then later to a C cup, and also she needed a bigger kilt.
Okay. And what did she think was causing these physical changes?
At first, from the A cup to the B cup, she really wasn't thinking much, just that she gained some weight. But then she started to get concerned when she had to go to the C cup and get the kilt.
Okay. And to your knowledge, did she ever take any kind of pregnancy test?
She took one at Tilted Kilt in the restroom, yes.
Okay. And if you don't mind, did you see the pregnancy test?
I did.
Okay. And tell this jury what it said.
It said error, and I went into the office and looked up why a pregnancy test would say error, and it said that either it was inconclusive or she did not urinate on it enough.
Okay. And so she goes from an A to a C. During this time, she takes the pregnancy test and it reads error.
Correct.
Do you ever see her appearance change and she lose the weight, go
No.
back down to an A cup?
No.
Now, after the breakup, did the defendant continue to work at Tilted Kill?
Not that I can remember, no.
Okay. Now, tell me a little bit about her demeanor. They've broken up, this time's going on. How does she appear?
She started to come back to being Heather. She started doing her jokes, and you could hear her goofy laugh more often, and just being back to the Heather that we knew and loved.
Now, when was the last time you saw Heather Elvis at Tilted Kill?
Her last shift was either Sunday or Monday before she disappeared.
Okay. And have you seen her since then?
I have not.
Have you heard from her since then?
I have not.
Okay. Had there ever been a time before this that she just not showed up for work, nobody heard from her?
No, ma'am.
When she never showed back to work, did you or anybody with you ever reach out to anyone to try to find anything out about where she was?
I tried texting her to find out where she was, because I don't remember if it was her mom or her dad came up to work asking if anybody had seen her. So I tried texting her and letting her know she needs to let somebody know where she's at, and there was no response.
And did you or anybody else from the Tilted Kill contact the defendant?
Yes.
And if you don't mind, when did that happen?
That was the morning after, whenever, I don't remember which parent it was, came to the restaurant asking if anybody had come, or if anybody had seen her. And Dennis Hart had called him that morning.
Objection to Dennis Hart's testimony.
Sustained objection.
One of the other managers.
Did you ever hear what the defendant said?
All I heard was no.
Now, during this time she was working at Tilted Kill, did you ever see her car?
Yes.
Okay. And what kind of car was it, just in general?
It was green, either like an Intrepid type vehicle.
Okay. And had you ever seen her be without her car for a ride or anything else?
Not that I can recall, no.
Okay. Now, did you ever see the defendant's truck when he worked at Tilted Kill?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what color was his truck?
It was white.
Okay. So the last time when he was up at Tilted Kill working, end of October, beginning of November, he had a white truck.
Yes, ma'am.
Had you ever seen him in a black truck?
No, ma'am.
Okay. One question I forgot to ask you, Ms. Cook. During the time the breakup happened between the defendant and the victim, Heather Elvis, did you ever see any pictures on her phone from the defendant?
Yes, ma'am.
Objection.
And if you don't mind, tell this jury what you saw.
Just one second. That's okay.
That is still relevant, Your Honor, and it's also prejudicial.
Well, the relevance is, I overrule the objection, it's the relevance. Prejudicial, that's generally what the evidence is.
It's more prejudicial than probative of any element.
I overrule the objection. Allow it.
Thank you. If you don't mind, tell this jury the picture you saw on the phone during that time frame.
It was a picture of Sidney Moorer performing oral sex on his wife.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross.
Yes, sir. How do you know the oral sex picture was his wife?
That is a good question. I did not see her face.
Huh?
That is a good question. I did not see her face.
Did you clearly see his?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You mentioned in your statement that you're aware of one of Heather's prior boyfriends, Jeremy.
Yes.
You know Jeremy?
Not very well, no.
Okay. In regards to Dennis Hart,
Yes,
you
sir.
know Dennis, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you see evidence of a relationship between the two of them?
No.
So if they had a romantic relationship, you would not know about that?
No.
Okay. You said in your statement that Heather was sleeping in the car.
Yes, sir.
What period of time was that?
Month-wise or length-wise, sir?
Just lengthwise, how long?
I knew probably a few days.
Okay. Can you tell me what days those were?
No, sir.
Can you give me an estimated guess of when that would have been?
I honestly don't recall, sir.
Do you know what month it was?
It was probably springtime.
So it wasn't surrounding, you're saying it wasn't surrounding prior to her going to Bree Warman's house to live?
It was prior to that.
Okay, so that was in December, so it wouldn't have been in the springtime.
It was the springtime of 2013.
Okay. So you're saying she was sleeping in her car from the spring all the way up?
Oh, no. I knew.
You know she was sleeping in her car prior to moving in with Bree Warman?
Correct.
She was?
In the springtime, she had slept in her car. I found out about that, and she had come and stayed with me for a few days. After that, I didn't know where she was staying. I knew that she was not staying in her car.
So you do not know whether she was sleeping in her car in November or December?
I do not know that, no, sir.
Have you ever talked to Bree Warman about that?
Not that subject, no.
Do you know why she was sleeping in the car?
I know that she had argument at home and wasn't there. That's all I know.
Home being like the family home?
Correct.
Okay. Now, in regards to, the only thing that you mentioned about being fearful was you said that she was fearful because all the girls at work played a prank on her.
Right.
Correct? And that prank was that they came up with a scheme
Excuse me.
to call and pretend to be Sidney's wife.
Correct.
And that made her fearful.
Correct.
Okay. And then when you, in your statement, said that you looked at her phone once and saw 95 missed calls, you recall that statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay, those 95 missed calls were not from Sidney.
She, when it came...
I'm not asking you
I'm
who
sorry.
they were from, but I'm asking you, they were
Correct.
from Sidney.
Correct, sir.
Those 95 missed calls were from somebody else.
Correct.
And it was 95 missed calls in a relatively short period of time.
Correct.
And she kept asking questions about the date of the breakup. What was the date of the breakup?
It was, I want to say it was mid to late October.
Do you know the reason for that breakup?
Honestly, no, sir.
Just give me 1 second, please.
Sir?
Yes, sir.
The picture that was sent with oral sex, you don't know for certain that was sent from Sidney or the other person?
No.
Now, regarding the black eye that she had, did you get any knowledge as a supervisor of your people in regards to how that occurred?
She had given me 2 stories. One was that when she opened her door, she hit her eye with her door. And then the other one was that she had gotten jumped in the Walmart parking lot.
Okay. Do you recall her saying she had to stab somebody and use her knife in that instance?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes, sir.
Did she go into any detail about stabbing somebody or just?
No, sir.
Just general stabbing?
General.
That's all I have for this witness.
Redirect. Sure.
Look, if you don't mind, tell this jury who those 95 calls were from.
The name that came up on the phone was Crazy Bitch.
Okay. And do you know who that was for? Who she had named Crazy Bitch?
Tammy Moore,
Okay. And who is Tammy Moore?
the defendant's wife.
Okay. And he asked you a question about being fearful.
Yes, sir.
Tell this jury what Heather Elvis was afraid of.
She was afraid of Mrs. Moore coming to the restaurant,
Okay. When you say
That
Mrs.
day.
Moore, who do you mean?
the defendant's wife.
Okay. And had she ever been fearful like that before?
I had never seen her like that, no.
And let me ask you this, Mr. Tressler just asked you about some stories about the bruise. If you don't mind, tell this jury why she was telling hers.
A lot of the girls at work were giving her a hard time about the whole situation, so she was trying to kind of defuse a bomb, so to say, and trying to get ahead of them making fun or anything of her.
And what situation are you referring to?
Just the black eye. She was trying to get a story out so that nobody would ask questions.
Okay. And what were the girls that were giving her a hard time about?
Just the whole situation, her seeing a married man, things like that.
Because at the time Sidney was married?
Correct.
No further questions.
Recross.
When you say that she was telling you those 2 stories to diffuse a situation
Yes, sir.
or explain her black eye so to make fun of her, I mean, that's your take on it, right? I mean, that's what you're speculating as to why she would do that.
Correct, sir.
You only know the 2 stories she told you.
Correct, sir.
Thank you.
You may come down. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Call your next witness, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. This time the state calls Jody Davenport.
Raise your right hand. Place your left hand on the Bible. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give the court in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
State your full name and spell your last name.
Jody Lynn Davenport, Davenport.
And if you don't mind, Ms. Davenport, tell this jury about how old you are.
27,
And where are you from?
Conway, South Carolina.
Okay, and you still live in Conway?
Yes,
And you married with kids?
yes.
Okay. And if you don't mind, where are you currently working?
Lincoln Park Bar and Grill.
Okay. And had you ever worked at Tilted Kilt?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And if you don't mind, tell this jury where the Tilted Kilt is.
Broadway at the beach, located in Myrtle Beach.
Okay. And if you don't mind, what is the Tilted Kilt?
It was a restaurant, basically a themed restaurant. We wore, costumes as uniforms.
Okay. And what were your responsibilities when you were working there?
A server.
Okay. And about how long did you work there?
I worked there about 2 years total.
Okay. And while you worked there, did you have an occasion to come across Heather Elvis?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you don't mind, tell this jury how you met Heather Elvis.
She was already there when I started working there. I think we worked together about a year and a half, I would say.
Okay. And about how, was she a server?
She was a hostess.
Okay. And was she old enough to serve alcohol?
She was old enough to serve, not pour.
Okay. Because you got to be 21.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And she was not yet 21.
No.
Okay. And while y'all were together, tell this jury a little bit about y'all's relationship. Were you friends, enemies, hangout buddies?
We were friends. I have a family, so I don't really do much going out anymore, and so we didn't really hang out much outside of work, but we were friends at work.
Okay. So she was one of those people when you were at work, you would hang out, but not outside of work?
Yes.
Okay. Now, while you were there, did you meet the defendant?
Yes.
Okay. And if you don't mind, tell this jury how you met him.
He was doing maintenance work for us, and he would come in periodically.
Okay. And when did he work?
I don't really remember exactly times.
Okay. Mostly during the day or at night?
I would say during the day.
Okay. And if you don't mind, did Heather and the defendant know each other while they both worked at Tilted Kill?
Yes.
Okay. If you don't mind, tell this jury a little bit about their relationship.
I did see him come in a few times to bring her things like bagels or coffee.
Okay. And did they seem to talk a lot?
Yes.
Would he come see her when he wasn't there?
Yes.
I'm sorry, when he wasn't working.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, were there any other men bringing her coffee?
No.
Did she ever talk to you about any other men?
No.
Did any other men come and see her while she was at the job?
No.
Okay. Now, if you don't mind, was there a time when Heather and the defendant's relationship changed?
Yes.
Okay, and if you don't mind, tell this jury about that.
Whenever it ended?
Yes.
Okay, it was around the end of October.
And what went on when it ended?
She started getting harassing phone calls while she was at work.
Okay. And did you ever see any pictures on her phone?
I did.
And if you don't mind, tell this jury what you saw a picture of.
It's a picture of Sidney and his wife in some sexual positions.
Now, during the time of this breakup, and she's getting these pictures, and she's getting all these phone calls, how did she appear? Was she happy, sad, fearful?
She looked like a ghost. She looked paranoid, scared.
Had you ever seen her like that before?
No.
Now, during this time, did she ever come in with any bumps or bruises?
I did see her come in with a black eye.
Had you ever seen her come in like that before?
No.
Had you ever even seen her acting paranoid or anything like that before?
No, she was always happy and bubbly.
Okay. Now, after they broke up, did she continue to work at the Tilted Kill?
Yes.
Okay. Now, tell me a little bit about that. Was she somebody that worked regularly?
Yes.
Okay. And if she wasn't going to be there, did she call?
Yes.
Okay. Were there ever long periods of time when she didn't work?
No.
Okay. Now, how about the defendant? Did he continue to work at the Tilted Kill after they ended that relationship?
I do not remember seeing him in there at all after that.
Okay. So after that, he was no longer coming to the Tilted Kill?
No, ma'am.
Okay, but she continued to work?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, during that time frame, did you notice any changes in her physical appearance?
Yes, ma'am.
If you don't mind, tell the jury about that.
She looked like she was putting some weight in on her cheeks, and I remember she did have to go up a couple of bra sizes in our uniform, because that was part of the uniform. And she was putting on weight, around the hip area and her belly.
Okay. And what did you think was going on?
I thought she was pregnant.
Okay. Do you know whether or not she ever took a pregnancy test?
Yes, ma'am.
And did she?
Yes.
Did you see the test?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did it say?
It said error. It had the words written out.
Okay. Now, during the time she continued to work at the Tilted Kill, did she ever lose the weight?
I don't remember ever seeing her lose that.
Okay. Now, as time went on and she continues to work at the Tilted Kill, they've broken up. Tell this jury a little bit about her demeanor.
It got increasingly better.
Okay. Now, when was the last time you saw her?
I want to believe it was the Monday before she went missing. We worked together.
Okay. And have you seen her since then?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And have you talked to her since then?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, did you know what kind of car she drove?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what kind of car?
I don't remember the make and model, and it was a 4-door. She had an Elvis sticker on the back of it, like Elvis Presley.
Okay. And had you ever seen the defendant's truck when he worked for Tilted Kilt?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and if you don't mind, what color truck did he drive?
White.
Had you ever seen him in a black truck?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, was that answered?
No.
Now, at the time this was going on, do you know whether or not the defendant was married?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and was he?
Yes.
Okay, and was Heather during this time frame involved with anybody else?
No.
Okay. Now, when this was going on, how were the other waitresses and staff at Tilted Kilt? Were they nice to her? Did they know what was going on?
Everybody knew what was going on, and there were girls that were picking on her about it, and she was embarrassed.
And did everybody else know that Sidney was married?
Yes.
And did anybody ever say anything to her about their relationship since he was married?
Yes.
And what kind of things would they say?
Basically taunting her about it.
When you were at work and Heather was at work, she's a young girl. Tell me a little bit about her habits with her cell phone. Was she somebody that never looked at it, or was she somebody you couldn't catch her without it?
She always had her cell phone.
No further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Very well, cross-examine.
Were you a part of the scam with the other girls making the prank calls to her? Were you
No,
aware
sir.
that took place?
No, sir.
Did you learn that that took place?
Yes, sir.
That she had nothing to do with that?
No, sir.
How do you know that Heather was not involved with anybody else at the time that she was involved with Sidney Moorer?
She wasn't that I was aware of.
So if she was, you wouldn't know.
No, sir.
I mean, you weren't with her all the time.
No, sir.
And when you say fearful when all this is going on, is it safe to say what you're talking about, that she seemed like she was fearful of the wife being in a relationship with an 18-year older man than her that was married? Was she fearful about the wife, particularly after the scam that the wife had called her?
I would just say fearful in general. I'm not sure, sir.
Fearful of anything?
That was her demeanor.
Did you ever ask her why she's fearful?
We talked about it a little bit.
Was she fearful of running into his wife, would you say?
Yes.
Thank you.
Redirect.
No further questions.
Thank you. Take them down. All right, let's take about a 10-minute break.
One more, Judge?
Huh?
You want to just call one more to end up?
Well, I'm going to take about a 10-minute break. The jury, we've been sitting here, but more importantly, this lady's been typing since 3 o'clock, I think. 3:30. So let's take about a 10-minute break. Do not begin your deliberation. We've been with you, can you? Thank you. They're retired to your jury.
No, this one.
Anything from the state before we recess?
No, Your Honor.
Anything from the defendant?
Nothing, Your Honor.
All right. You have how many, well, how many witnesses?
Your Honor, we have one more witness that should be fairly short, like the previous two. We do have one witness that might take a little bit.
What define a little bit for me?
I'd imagine probably 30 minutes to 45 minutes.
We may want to take that person, get that done before we leave, okay? Thank you very much. We'll be at ease for about 10 minutes.
Hey, Patty, you know that way, or that way.